Hello, my name's Richard. I'm with
Austin.
And you're listening to
Hurry! The movie is starting.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. So I am here today joined with Austin. Austin, thank you for hopping on the podcast with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So today we're going to be post-gaming the movie Send Help by Sam Raimi. It was a horror movie that came out this past week, and it is starring Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams. But before we get into that, let me get a little bit into Austin. So Austin, tell me what started you into getting into horror movies.
Man, so I guess I got into horror movies at a pretty young age. Remember watching with my dad, we watched Alien, the original Alien, and just like that's just what sent me. Like, I was like fascinated with it. Yeah, it scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, but and then going into like the Exorcist and a lot of what's his name? Drawing a blank right now, but watching in the original It, like that's when really got me into horror movies. Yeah.
Okay, and it's funny you mentioned Alien because I didn't see that as a child, and I would have probably loved it to see it as a child. I was more into like the random like campy like Leprechaun and stuff like that. But as I did get into adult, I did like Alien, and specifically like I've seen most of the original ones, but specifically Alien Romulus just came out like a couple of years ago. Have you seen that one yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that in like the Dolby Digital, like at AMC. They have the rumbling seats and everything. Oh. It was phenomenal. I mean, I could watch that movie just like on a black and white screen. It's so good.
Right.
But, having that really enhanced it. But I really like that they paid good homage to it. A little Prometheus stuff into it. And did you see Prometheus?
Yeah, I liked it, but I know like a lot of the original Alien fans didn't like it because seemed like it was going off in a different direction. But by Romulus, it feels like they tied it all together pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot, but that's really what got me into it. And then I just kind of like explored, different genres. Like as I got older, started getting into like more indie horror movies and really really terrifying stuff. But I'm a big fan of found footage.
Oh,
like that is. The best one I've seen recently is Gonjiam Haunted Asylum.
Oh, I've heard of that one. I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, yeah. It's a Korean one. Oh. It is terrifying, dude. And yeah, it's good though. It's good.
Found footage, man. I remember watching Paranormal Activity first in theaters. And I'm a little oblivious of things, and I remember by the end of the movie when it said like this was police evidence and stuff like that, I was genuinely like, wow, that's actual like footage. This is crazy. Yeah. And it wasn't, thankfully, but found footage adds another depth. Especially one of my favorite movies of all time is Cloverfield, and that's not necessarily a horror, but throughout the movie, I guess it is a horror movie.
It's like sci-fi, sci-fi meets horror.
Yeah, and that movie, because before that, I would always get like headaches when watching these kind of found footage films, but after that movie I was like, okay, it's good.
Yeah.
But it's have you heard of Project Almanac?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have heard of it, but I have not seen it.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I just ran across it the other day and I saw it was a found footage film too, but about time travel, so I was curious about that one as well. But all right, so that's a little bit about how you got into horror. What if you had to say like what is your favorite underrated horror movie, or what's a horror movie in your opinion that's extremely underrated?
Underrated. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that really liked Hereditary too much, but that's like my all-time favorite horror movie just in general.
Hey.
I'm not too sure if is it underrated or not, but it's phenomenal. And I liked. Yeah, if we're going with my favorite, I'm gonna stick with that one.
And it was I think that was one of the top movies that put A24 on the map, because they were doing. I feel like before that movie, they were doing like these more artistic style dramas like Swiss Army Man and the random movies that you look at and you're like, That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Hereditary was one of the ones that put him into the horror genre for good. And then Ari Aster, amazing director, he followed that up with Midsommar, which was a lot less appealing to the fans than Hereditary, but it was still, I thought it was a still good horror movie. It was just like a different take on horror.
It was very different take. Hereditary was way more paranormal. Yeah. And I actually talked about this on our podcast I have, but kind of talking about like the media we consume and how I love horror movies. The paranormal stuff, that's like my all-time favorite. I loved Midsummer. Great film, but that's more of like a culty film.
Yeah.
Not culty as in the genre, but it was like
actual
about
cult
the cult
trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And I think my appeal for that movie is because every time we see a horror movie, it's always showed in like this dark lighting, dark situation, and during the day, you most of the time feel safe. But Midsommar, most of it's happening like, in the brightness of this festival, and everything is like displayed right on full focus. So that's what I liked about it. And then also Ari Aster putting multiple things in the background, like he did in Hereditary. That if you look, you're like, wait, someone's standing over there.
Right.
So I thought he did a great job of doing that too.
Right, adding the psychedelic effect, like when they were like doing the mushrooms and stuff.
Yeah. And then freaking getting back to Hereditary real quick too, before we get into Send Help. Alex Wolff was one of the, I don't know if you ever heard of the Naked Brothers band.
Yes.
Okay, so Alex Wolff was the son in that movie, and he's a kid from the Naked Brothers band. So to see him specifically in that scene where he slams his head on the desk, I was like, that is amazing acting. And like throughout that movie, you just kind of hope that he like in real life is okay, because he showed a lot of range in that movie, and you wonder like how he was able to get there. But
yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was like shocking. Like, did not see that coming, and the amount of like emotion that went into that was crazy. I was like, that guy, it's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, and we will definitely have to record an episode fully for Hereditary, because that's a great movie, and we could talk about that for a long time.
Yes, we don't want to take away from Send Help.
Yeah, let's get back to Send Help. So how I'm going to lay this out today is we're going to first start off with the final score, and this is going to be my and Austin's final rating for the movie Send Help. So I'll start with you, Austin, first. What would you rate this movie from 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being the absolute best, and you can use decimals if you like.
I would give it a 7.
7?
I would give it 7 out of 10, yeah.
Okay. What do you think dropped it in your score?
Dropping it for me in this setting with these actors, because I know it's Sam Raimi, and I know his style. But in this type of movie that he was like, creating, it was just kind of the score at certain times, the dramatic music at certain times. I was kind of like, like for me, just my opinion. I was just like, it's not fitting. And then some of his gratuitous gore and blood. It's kind of like, oh, okay.
Right. It almost felt like Tarantino-esque in one specific scene that you're like, whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah. Like, we were talking the part where he, they're fighting and rips hair out of Rachel McAdams' head, and it tears her whole scalp out.
Yeah, and big chunk missing.
A big chunk, yeah. But I was like, good. But it has, I feel like that was kind of like a comedic effect to it, though, because it was kind of a funny movie. Yeah.
And I agree with you. Like, it dropped a couple of spots for me for my overall rating. I had it at a 7.6, but originally, like from the opening start, I had it like at an 8.5, because just the dynamic of O'Brien, he's going to be a douchebag. You've seen it in the trailer, but when you first meet him, you can tell like he's going to be this douchebag, but he also plays like the acting way really well, to that point where you're like, wait, maybe he's not as bad. The first time he talks with, I think her name's Linda.
Yeah, Linda.
Yeah, Linda. The first time he talks with her, you're like, oh, maybe he is kind. You find out later on that's just him trying to do what he can to get what he wants. But that was the amazing start. And then throughout the movie, I agree with you. Like, there's certain moments that Sam Raimi's transitions kind of pulled me out of it, or some kind of instance where he pulls you out of the scene because of his artistic preference in that moment. But I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
the transitions, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I didn't even think about that, but I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember thinking that in the theater last night. I was like,
It's like very like old school and old fashioned, which I get it. Like we need transitions to go from scene to scene, but some of these you're just like, okay, that was like 3 transitions in a row. But
yeah,
there's even like one that's like kind of looks like an 80s montage where it's just showing Dylan O'Brien like progressively looking at his watch,
Yeah.
getting madder and madder. And I was like, okay, this is funny.
yeah.
All right, so we talked about what brought it down for you. What do you think raised it up in terms of your score?
The acting first and foremost. Rachel McAdams and O'Brien did a phenomenal job. They her turning kind of like her craziness showing slowly throughout, like as soon as, well, it wasn't even really slowly, like just a few days on the island,
Yeah.
and she was already like playing Susie Homemaker, as he said, and really like she's like starting to care for him, and it gave me a Misery feel to it.
Oh,
Like she was not like she saw the boat and did not. I don't know if you wanted me to go into all that stuff yet.
You're fine.
And but yeah, she saw the boat, was like, we can't leave yet. We're not leaving. And yeah, she said she went from not leaving yet, and then eventually she's like, we're not leaving. And was deterring him from building the raft, and he had the way how he had poisoned her and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that whole sequence was hilarious.
It was
Like it's like, F you, Linda. And then just like his boat starts falling apart. He gets washed up on shore. She's puking all into his mouth.
yeah, like multiple times,
Yeah,
exaggerated
trying to
amount of
give
times.
resuscitate or give him mouth to mouth. Like, so, but yeah, that was gratuitous. Like,
Yeah.
that Sam Raimi style. But yeah, it was just an overall enjoyable movie. And then the ending, like, I like when I saw that boat the first time, I was like, that does not look like a search and rescue boat. That looks like a ferry. And then we go to find the mansion there, and so
Which that was a huge twist, because watching the trailer, it leads you to believe that Dylan O'Brien is this one specific character that you're going to hate, that he's just a terrible
Yes.
person, and you see that Rachel McAdams is the people pleaser, really good at her job, but never gets valued for who she really is. So before going into this movie, you're kind of rooting for her, and then that's where I thought that's what brought me up on the rating a little bit for this movie was. Their acting was phenomenal. I've never seen Rachel McAdams in a role like this, where she is so good at playing nice, but then she has their undertone of like, "Don't mess with me again," and it's actually kind of terrifying.
yes.
And again, if you haven't seen this movie, it's spoilers, so don't watch this post game, because
I was wondering if you ever say those.
I do. I typically do it in the beginning, but I forgot. But I mean, this is like a post game, so it's implied that it's after the movie. But if you haven't seen the movie yet, there are going to be spoilers from here on out. So I would probably just cut this and put it in the beginning. So spoilers from here on out if you haven't seen the movie.
Oh, and we are filming and recording from Piper Pit in Sanford, Piper Pit Kava Lounge. If you're into Kava Kratom, come have a drink. It's delicious. Great place, great people.
Yep. And every day of the week, it seems like they have something new. They have Binho tournaments on Tuesdays.
Yep.
Tuesdays. They sometimes have pool tournaments and dart tournaments. And then I just recently found out that on Wednesdays, they're going to have a midnight movie club, which they're going to be watching movies at midnight around here. So I think that's pretty awesome. If you want to support local businesses, Piper Pit in Sanford, Florida. This is Sanford, right?
This is Sanford, yeah. It's off Reinhardt Road, yeah.
Yeah.
And they just started bingo on Mondays.
Oh,
So Monday bingo, Tuesday bingo.
hey. Okay. Yeah. So to get like more onto that ending, I thought it was a good twist.
Yes.
But once you saw her like halfway through the movie where she's like, "Don't go to those rocks that have an X," you already know, like, okay, what's really over there.
Yeah.
I thought she was just hiding where the boats are in sight, but after we find out towards the end of the movie, there's an actual home there, and it's a nice home, and there's a ton of food, tons of drinks, tons of water, and there's weapons. And unfortunately, she did throw away all the knives, but it's crazy to see kind of going back after that moment and thinking like, okay, what did she bring from this house for food, and what did she actually find? Because you know, the movie in the beginning does a good job of highlighting that she's a survivalist. She has like 20s of like so many books about survival. Her favorite show is Survivor. So you're led to think that she is really good at surviving, and she is, but also in the aspect of she's also hiding this store that she can grab food from that we don't know about till the end. So I thought that twist was pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I want to get like a little bit more into the ending, but we'll also get more into it later. At the final scene of the movie, she's driving away because now she's a celebrity because she's the only one that survived this plane crash.
Yeah.
The song playing on the radio is One Way or Another, and as we're getting ready to fade to black, she looks at the camera and like gives you a stare. What was your interpretation of that?
So I didn't really know. I knew it meant something, but at that point, I was just like, "What? What was that?"
It's funny. I went with my girlfriend, and she was like, I asked her about that, and she was like, I don't know. She's like, I think it was kind of a look of her knowing that she got away with it. But for me, and I don't know if this was Sam Raimi's intention. I would have to like look up to see what he meant after that. But my reading on that was that she was kind of threatening us, like, hey, I know you saw what I did. Don't tell anyone. Because she's not smiling or anything. She just looks at the camera and she gives that like that glaze. And we now know that she's killed 3 people in the span. And did she kill her husband?
That's what I was wondering. Also, like when she was telling the story of how she gave him the keys to go, had poured him his final drink. It's like, did she put something in it, or did she like make it extra strong, or what? Like, is how miserable she was with him.
Right.
And then also like to talk about the final few scenes where she said they're like, oh, and you're having, when she was being interviewed, she was like, you're being or they're making a movie about this whole thing. Could that have been the movie that they made about what happened? And that's why she looked at the camera and was like, don't say anything. It's kind of like a weird like a paradox type thing.
I like that. And that's honestly probably something Sam Raimi would do, is he is very out there with some of the stuff he does. So that's an interesting concept. I'm gonna have to look that up because I didn't even think about that. I just thought it was more so of like her, like, I know you saw what I did, but that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, because I thought that was like, man, it was like right after they were saying, you know, they're making a movie. So yeah, it very well could be, you know, it's, you know, the interpretation of the viewer too. You know?
Mm-hmm. And it's funny how they completely flip. Like you have O'Brien as the antagonist and McAdams as the protagonist. Then by the end of it, is she still the protagonist?
Oh no,
she's now the antagonist.
Yeah,
I think so too. And it's that you can only do that with amazing acting, and it shines a different light. And we'll get more onto like the keys of the film shortly, but it just shines a light onto her acting performance, that she can take this whole situation where originally she was the one getting taken advantage of. She was the one getting looked over and not treated correctly. But by the end of the movie, now it seems like she had become the monster that she was trying to, I guess, avoid. So that was a cool...
Yeah, because she was like, at several times throughout the movie, she was like, I'm the boss now. Like, I'm that asshole boss now.
Yeah.
And so could she be like the anti-hero? Is that the correct definition for that? Or would that be accurate?
So I was thinking about this like a lot, and I was like, what is a good way to describe how this ends with her character? And the one thing that kept coming to my mind came from The Dark Knight, which is my favorite movie of all time. And it's what Harvey Dent said: you either live long enough to see yourself become the hero, or you die You either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I think that's what it was. In the beginning, she was the hero, and then towards the end, she had then twisted over to that becoming the villain.
Yeah.
So that was our current ratings of the movie. You had it at a 7, I had it at a 7.6, but it was better than I thought it was going to be. There's just some of the Sam Raimi things that kind of were like, but anyways, that is the final score. We're getting next into the keys of the film, and this is where we're going to point out key situations or key phrases that define the movie as a whole. And I have my list here. However, if you have any words that you would define this movie as, feel free as well. but I'm going to start off with, I think one of the main concepts of this movie is control.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you like? Who do you? Okay, actually, let me get it like this. What do you think is the struggle with control throughout this movie, besides the aspect that he's her boss and she's trying to be his boss? Do you think there's any underlying factors of control, or it's all about just survival?
So the control kind of swaps. He starts out as the boss. Then plane crashes, he gets hurt, and then she's in control because she basically, she knows all the survival tips. She has all this knowledge about survival, and so she's like, okay, like she goes and leaves him. That's like the montage where he's like, where is she? He's all like almost dead, dehydrated, and she finally comes back to prove that control. She's like, you need me. So he kind of submits even after his leg is better, he kind of submits for a little while. She still has the control, but then that swaps. Stop me if I'm not going the right direction with this, but when he poisons her, he's like, oh, let me make you dinner. She thinks that they're falling in love.
Yes.
And she's like, all happy, and then he really just like puts those poison berries in her food, and she's puking, and all that whole scene. And then it's almost like God kind of is just like, he thinks he has the control back. He thinks he's going to get saved, and just the ocean spits him right back on the shore.
Yep.
And then she, gives him the octopus that completely. So she possesses the control almost the whole movie. His wife comes to save him. Has a boat, has food, and she's just like, nope, and kills her. And he has no idea.
Right.
And so she definitely holds that power throughout.
And I like how you mentioned like the power shift, because in the beginning of this film we see O'Brien use this to his advantage. Like, he is not someone that submits. He said, like, there's a scene where they're on the plane and one of his subordinates is like, oh, you got to see this video, and he's sitting across from him and he turns his laptop so as if O'Brien can see it, but O'Brien doesn't budge an inch because he's like, no, I'm not going to you. You're coming to me. And then after the guy sees like the social cue, he's like, okay, I'll come to you. And then that's when everything goes crazy. But there's these many like little symbols at the start of the movie that shows how much in control Dylan O'Brien likes to be. And then he's forced into this situation. Even after the plane crashes and she saves his life, all he says is thanks. He's like, thanks. I'm like, everyone in the theater is like, wow. And it's like, you just feel that like insincerity, and it almost more so felt like an obliged thank you in that moment. But I think that was still when he still did assume he had the power, because even when they got in their first argument, he's like, I'm the boss. And she's like, not out here, you're not. And that's a scene we've seen in the trailer. But then you're right, from that moment, we kind of have shifted. And when she walked away, that was my interpretation of that was like, when you're going to purchase a new car and then salesman isn't negotiating with you, so you're willing to walk away. And then from that, they can either change their mind or you just leave and you're not getting a new car.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sales tactic that she used there, but it actually worked, because when she came back, that's when he submitted to her. And then I think what ruined it for her was when they got drunk. And when people get drunk, they say that you tend to speak more of the truth from your heart when you're drunk. And she mentioned the story about her husband, about how he died. And then she mentioned how she wants to stay on this island forever. And I think that moment click something in his head, like, oh, wait, she's actually controlling that we're not leaving here.
Yeah.
So I think that's what gave him the plan of trying to escape.
Yep.
And it's funny because during that scene, Amber was saying, do you think he poisoned her? And I was like, no, I think he redeemed himself. I think he's going to be good. And then you see her like start getting all fuzzy, and I was like, oh, he did poison her.
Yeah.
And that scene is just crazy because the amount of puke after that is wild.
Yeah. So when she said that, she just kind of like got vulnerable, and but what you were saying about her walk, the indifference, like all right, fine, yeah, take it or leave it, I'm good. You know, it's
Yeah.
definitely a sales tactic. Yeah, I used to use a lot, but
Yeah.
but yeah, just oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and it's just something that it's just like control is just. I think there's many overarching narratives in this movie, but it seems like control and is just the main play. Because even we see like in as I said before, she has plenty of books on survival. So why wouldn't the person that's an expert on survival, whose favorite movies is Survivor, be in control in this situation? And she knows that, and eventually Dylan O'Brien knows that. But then after everything, he's like, okay, no, she's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was like that whole yeah, like I said before, like it was just like misery. You
Right.
know? Like you're not leaving. We're staying together forever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And did you think, like, before going into that movie, did you think we would get to that, like, will they, won't they situation between them?
Dude, I thought they would. When and that's what I was thinking also. Like when it started raining and they ran into the cave and he's like, "Oh, we should cuddle and stuff." Like he was like holding her.
Right.
I was like, was he doing that to gain her like love basically and kind of like trust almost so that she wouldn't see the poison food coming,
Right.
like make her think like a tactic, to make her think, oh, he's falling for me, I got him.
That's a great perspective, because there's a couple different moments in that where you're like, okay, is he officially, because he repents multiple times, but sometimes you're like, okay, that was just so he can get what he wants. Like I think Actually, no. I think the time where he repented to her after, like, when he was going to start eating the sushi platter that she had, because she had this full. Now we understand after the movie how she had this sushi platter, but it's in that moment. I feel like that was one of the more genuine moments, because he apologized earlier, but then it goes back to him treating her like an underling in some specific parts. So that was the next key point I had, was the power and the power shift. But I think that goes along well with the control aspect. And then you said it well, that him being in control, which that was a great job too, because it's out of his own volition. She didn't ask him to make dinner. He's just telling her like, "Oh, can I make you dinner?" And I think that lowered her guard too, because she's like, "Oh, I'm not having to force him to do this anymore. He's actually wanting to do it." And we find out why, because he's poisoned her with berries. But it's funny how that situation.
And I remember the whole movie. I'm like, why doesn't it show her going fishing? Like, why doesn't it show her like going, and spearing fish?
Mm-hmm.
In reality, she's going to the house.
Yeah,
it's probably stocked with frozen fish, and she just like puts it on a spear and walks back to camp.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing with the knife too. He's like, "Where'd you get the knife?" And she's like, "Oh, I found it.
Right
on shore."
Right. And I didn't even put one and one together. I was like, okay, well, like, it's a horror movie, maybe that happened.
Yeah.
But once we find out to the house, you immediately go, oh, that's where the knife's at. Oh, can you get a knife? And then once he goes in and sees there's no knives,
right,
I'm like, okay, there's definitely a weapon in this house. And then she comes out later with a shotgun that doesn't work, or it's empty.
She didn't load it. Yeah.
She didn't load it. Oh, okay. Yeah. So that,
because she probably knew like that he was gonna overpower her at some point and take it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was because she was like strategy and planning.
Yes, yes, and that was another like overarching theme, because he keeps calling her an accountant, but her actual job is strategy and planning, and she clearly is very good at doing this, whether it be in the work environment or at the end of the movie where she's holding a gun that's not loaded.
Yeah.
But I also want to we're talking about control and power. What about corruption?
I mean, I feel like her corruption was like took place like on the airplane when she saw them looking at her embarrassing Survivor audition tape, and they were all laughing because she there's another thing in that same scene, like the where she was like, she wrote up the whole report that she said she was going to do, and then it said she clicked do not save, and then that was the same thing, like the guy was holding on to her and trying to like
Oh,
do not save. She clicked that beforehand and did not save the guy.
Right. I did. That's nice. That's a cool little perspective. 'Cause she acted like she tried to, but then it showed his true nature, which that scene to this, like to today. You watched it yesterday as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I watched that movie yesterday as well. And that scene is a highlight that I keep thinking of because anytime there's like betrayal or just humankind turning to their like lowest point, it always sparks something in me. And just seeing that scene where you're like, okay, she's actually saving him. Nice. Then he's like, get out of the seat. Like, let me sit in it.
Yeah. Give me your seat. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
so the most important thing to him in this situation is not everyone's safety. It's about him getting into the most safe place in the plane. And then from that, we see the guy behind him who's trying also to be saved, but he starts kicking him off his leg, to which again the guy bites him. And it's just like this avalanche of humanity at its worst, unfortunately.
well, like, yeah, just betrayal after betrayal, you know, because they were friends. The two guys were friends. The one that was hanging onto the leg of the guy, you know, they were all colleagues and everything. So.
And that corruption from right there, it's funny that don't save part. I didn't even think about that before.
Yeah, because she thought about it.
Yeah.
And then she just clicked it. And yeah, she thought about saving the guy, and then she was just like, no. And just stabbed him in the face with a fork.
Yeah. And that was brutal.
The part where, and like how he got hung on outside of the airplane by his tie.
Oh, yeah.
Just
and
getting beat on the side of the window. Like,
and then she just like, he's like, help me. And she just closes it. I mean,
dude, that cracked me up in the theater, dude.
To be fair, though, in that situation, there's nothing you can do. You can't, like, if you reach for his tie, it's going to fly away. If you get out of your seat, you're going to fly away. There's, like, some people at that moment might be, oh, that's very mean of her, but there's literally nothing you can do at that moment. So that's understandable. At that point in the movie, like, I'm like, okay, she's not evil. That's just circumstance. The guy tried to kill her and take her seat, so she was just playing, like, defense on that.
Right,
but then we find out stuff later on. You're like, oh, okay, maybe it was a little bit more sinister than anticipated.
Yeah, because it makes you wonder, like, you know, if she ever had any intention of saving him,
right?
You know, but at the same time, you put yourself in that position. You're free falling in an airplane. You know, you feel like you're about to die. Like adrenaline's going. It's just like you're just like survival. Like that's all your brain knows at that point. It's just kind of natural. For human beings, you know, as well as animals as well. You know?
Right. And have you ever seen the movie Castaway?
Yes.
Okay, so Amber actually pointed this one out, and I got to give a shout out to her for this one because I didn't even realize this. Do you remember the plane crash scene in Castaway?
Yes.
Okay, so in that plane crash scene, Tom Hanks is getting out of his seat to go get this watch that his girlfriend, I don't think they're not married, his girlfriend, that she gave to him because this is the most meaningful thing to him. As he's getting out of his seat, we see the flight attendant be like, sir, get back in your seat. And he's trying to do everything he can to save Tom Hanks in that situation. And unfortunately, the plane hits more turbulence and he hits his head. And then from that, he bleeds out to death as the plane crashes. So she was saying that was a really good comparison, that we have this scene in Castaway where the guy is actively trying to save Tom Hanks and unfortunately due to that gets killed. And then we have this movie where she's trying to save him to her best abilities, and then he shows his true darkness and his true intentions, and that's when she's like, nah, you got this. And that's kind of like a dichotomy of one person's putting another person above themselves and then getting killed, and then her putting herself above this guy and saving her. I know there are two different comparisons, but it was a cool little...
No, that is good. Yeah, because it is contrasting, but it's the same kind of like two different movies, but same kind of situation.
Yeah, because you were kind of, I don't know if you were like me going into this movie, but I was like, okay, when's the plane crash going to happen? Is this going to be like Castaway where we're like 30 minutes into the movie and then we get the crash? But it was only like, I think, 15 minutes in. It was pretty quick.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. Yeah, it was just kind of like them talking crap about her and then like showing the video and, you know, her typing it up real quick. It was maybe like, 5-10 minutes even, you know, it was not very long. And then I was kind of surprised also like how quickly the plane crash happened. You know?
Right. Yeah. And then from that, I think the rest is because it was an hour and 53 minutes. I would say like you're like about 10-15 minutes of regular, just showing the dynamic between them and understanding Rachel McAdams' character and then seeing the ugliness in society of Dylan O'Brien's character, and then we get an hour and like 30 plus minutes of just them trapped on the island, which I like. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But speaking on what you just said about them embarrassing her on the plane, that is another key point I have here, which was shame.
Yes.
Because we see multiple moments in this movie where shame is put on front and center, and whether it be, this is where I will say Sam Raimi did a great job, was when it zoomed in on like the food next to her mouth. Because how often do we see someone that has something on their face and we just like, we can't hear what they're talking about, we can't understand what they're saying because we're just focused on that. So take the good Sam Raimi with the bad Sam Raimi. I thought he did a great job of illustrating that, like zooming in on that situation. Because he did it in another shot in that movie, but I can't remember.
With the lipstick on her teeth.
Yes.
When she was trying to have this serious conversation with O'Brien, and just her lipstick just smears all over her front teeth, and he's just like, "Hey, you got a little something there." And she's trying to have this like serious conversation because the promotion just got passed up on. And yes.
And shame is one of those negative emotions. We have like the positive emotions and we have the negative emotions. And shame, even when they're like, that's so messed up though. If you think about it, they know she's behind them. There's no earphones. They're listening to the actual laptop volume like high, and they're making fun of this girl as she sits behind them doing all their work. To me, that's like one of the biggest.
She was locked in at first, and then she slowly noticed, and she was just like, that's when she was like, don't save.
Right. I think that kind of, she's clearly an outsider from the beginning of this movie. Like, and it's unfortunate because this is like sometimes in society, just because of who you are, people don't really, I guess, connect with you. And we see her struggling to connect, even though she's trying to be more outgoing and she's very clearly good at her job. But something's not working where she's not connecting with these people. And it's just like all these moments of shame just keep taking her down, taking her down. And this is not from me. This is actually someone from Reddit that I read right after the movie, that it's almost like her going to the waterfall transformed her into a different person. Because up to that point, she was very like nerdy. She was very not introverted because it does have extrovert tendencies, but she's very like in her own world. And then after that scene, we see her like looking all elegant. We see her just enjoying that waterfall, and it seems like she was like transformed by it. And then from that, she became a more confident version in who she wanted to be.
Yes, because she saw her reflection, and then she took her hair, put her hair down, and it was just like, Rachel McAdams.
Right, right.
She was like, she saw herself, and she's like had this new appreciation for herself and appreciation for the island. And like a part of me is like, she was like crazy and wanted to be possessive and stay on the island, but at the same time, I feel like she also like kind of fell in love with it at the same time.
I think she loved being dependent on and having someone rely on her, because she had in her place or in her home, it didn't seem like she had many friends, but she had her pet bird that she would go and talk to and kind of unload her problems of the day onto this bird. So that was another contrast that I thought, like, oh, is Dylan O'Brien essentially her pet on this island?
Because she did call him Sweetie.
Yeah, she called him Sweetie, which is a keyword that she was calling to her bird. So just another thought process on that. But speaking of like shame and how her character changed throughout the movie, that highlights the next key point of the movie, which is value. Value. What do you think about the showing of value in this movie?
So her value was shown with her knowledge on how to survive in the wild. I can't really think of much value that he added besides to her own selfish desires, because she wanted to keep him like a submissive pet almost. So that's the value, I guess. I mean, that is value to her,
right?
But practical value is her and her survivalist knowledge.
Yep. And she clearly has, like, it establishes that value from the beginning of the movie as we see her bookshelf full of those books. So it's already setting us up to know that out in the wild, she's going to be valuable. But it's kind of crazy, too, because in the real world, she's very valuable. She's just not seen as valuable, which is unfortunate.
Right, yeah. Back in America, like in the real world, she has a ton of value. She had been with the company for 7 years, and I wonder if that's like a little biblical reference. 7 years, seven, the holy number.
Yeah, that is very interesting because I think 7 was mentioned a couple times in this movie.
Yeah.
And even the I don't know the actor's name, but the Allstate guy was like she's the reason that your father was able to expand this business to where it's at today. Like he knows how much value she has, but how many times in this world do we have someone who actually knows someone's value lower than the person that doesn't see anyone's value and just sees them as like pieces to move on a board?
Right.
Kind of sad.
Yeah, it is. That's why I can't stand the office culture.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's you're just kind of treated like a number, and your value isn't really seen, unless you have more of a worldly appeal. Like you dress a certain way, you look a certain way, you talk a certain way, and instead of just being good at your job,
right?
Sadly.
Yeah, and it is frustrating because she's clearly very good at her job, and Dylan O'Brien's only value in that moment when she's like, "Why didn't I get the promotion?" is, "Oh, he plays golf and he's more approachable around normal people."
Yeah, he can close a deal,
right? And we even see that dude like from the beginning. That dude's like, "Oh, let me take this work that you worked all night for, but don't worry, I'll keep your name at the top so everyone knows." And of course, we know by the time he gets into that room, he's taking off that paper and throwing it away.
Yeah.
Like that just shows how little value. And then just even talking to the people that are seemingly on her same level in terms of her role, they don't want anything to do with her. It's all her talking a little bit about her, and then asking them a question, and then they just walk away. And it just establishes her social value as really low in the beginning of the movie, which is a complete opposite of where she ends up at the end of the movie, where she's now a celebrity and high value because she's the only survivor of a 8-man plane crash in this situation.
And now she's at golf,
Yeah, now
she's playing golf.
Right. And from that moment, what did you take that as her playing golf?
Dude, I loved the transition from when she killed him to her, teeing off.
Yeah.
And oh man, there was another point. Oh yeah, they had O'Brien's friend that got the position over her. He had a lot of Patrick Bateman qualities from American Psycho. Mm-hmm. Like that's what me and my friends were talking about. I was like, dude, that's Bateman.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love that transition from her like killing him with the golf club to teeing off.
Because I was wondering, like, okay, did she learn golf like in spite of him, or did she do it because she saw that as the one weakness that she had, because that was the reason that she didn't get hired or promoted up? So I don't know. I got to look up that too, because that would be interesting to see what Sam Raimi's intentions were on that scene.
Because a part of me was thinking like, oh man, like maybe she enjoyed killing him in that way. So she, it was with a golf club.
Right.
So she's like, oh, okay, I see the appeal now.
Right. Oh, okay.
So whacking that ball, just like she had whacked his head.
Bro. Wouldn't that be sadistic if now that's why she likes golfing? Because every time she's swinging, like teeing off, she's seeing his head, and it's like, yeah.
Exactly, dude. Yeah.
Oh. And it's wild to see like her character's full transformation. And that's the ironic thing, I think, the whole situation, despite her being like who she is in the beginning, like I don't know how you saw her, but I was like, I can see her as lovable, but I can see then why people see her like as a dark spot in that office. But by the end of the movie, regardless of what the audience thinks, she's still by herself. She's driving away now with her pet and is still by herself. So I don't know, maybe that was a sign that all she needs in this world is herself after surviving the island and after killing 3 people on that island.
Yeah.
It was just a cool contrast on that.
Just a little tiny side note. I was like, that bird would not be having fun in a convertible car,
right,
in a cage.
Right.
That bird would not be having a good time, but it was just gonna like sitting there.
And I
think that was like a comedic effect to it as well.
And it almost ties together like how she's treating Dylan O'Brien like on the island. Like, yeah, that she does treat him, it seems like kindly, But then there's also moments where you're like, oh, she's just being a douchebag now. It seems like,
Yeah.
after he repents, it seems like she does forgive him, but she keeps constantly bringing up things from the past. It was like, oh, does she really forgive him, or is she just holding on to these
She
things?
keeps on. Yeah, she keeps on doing it. Yeah.
And it's funny seeing like Dylan O'Brien be like, yeah, I was a douchebag, a big douchebag. Like his timing on everything that he's like agreeing with her with. Once she says it, you're like, oh, is he gonna snap? And then he agrees with her and then laughs, and then they have this scene where they're just like both laughing, and you're like, I think he's only laughing because he's starting to get scared of her.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that part when they were getting drunk.
Yeah.
I
I thought they were like their chemistry
it was
really
like
good.
crazy. Yeah, crazy laughing, and and then in the end, the ultimate repentance when she had the shotgun pointed at him, and he just like. He obviously was, not truly repenting. Like he was, but just like the unloading of emotion, like acting wise, was like amazing.
Yeah.
Like phenomenal. Like he did such a great job.
Yeah, he did. I would say he did such a great job because like it shows you see him looking at the horns and then like reaching for it, and then it cuts away, and then in that moment where he's begging for his life, like apologizing to her, I completely forgot about the horn. I didn't even think about it. I was like, wow, he's actually okay. This is like legitimate now. I think he's crazy for like trusting her after she killed his girlfriend, but hey, maybe this is how it's supposed to work out.
And he was like, he's like, I love you so much, and she's sitting there with a shotgun pointed at him. That's why I was like, there's no way he actually snapped and like is like truthful about this. And then when the camera cut to the horn missing, and she noticed, that was.
And like funny enough too, when she's holding that shotgun, the only thing we can see like as the audience is like her one bloody eye, which that was a little like not issue, but that was something that I saw. I was like, can she see out of this thing? Because there's a scene where he like sticks his finger in there and it's almost like coming out.
Yeah.
So I don't know the like semantics of that actually working after that situation, but it was cool still to see like. Besides the aspect that you're thinking, like, wait, is this realistic or not? But I mean, the whole movie is a very interesting.
There's no way she would be able to see out of it.
Right. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
There's no way. Yeah, because like it bled out, and like when you stick your finger that deep into your eye socket, you're damaging some kind of nerves. Like, because it was like his thumb was so far deep that it kind of like went behind her eyeball and shifted it around and stuff. Yeah, that was like that made me cringe. That part, anything with the eyes like that, I was like,
yeah. And there was multiple scenes in that movie that had to deal with like eyes popping out, and we saw it like during when she was first killing Warthog, which, she was like when that whole scene happened, she was very like scared and nervous, but by the end of it, she's like, I like this a lot, and then that's when you can see a little bit of crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what was it? I think was a warthog throwing up. Didn't it throw up a whole bunch of blood onto her?
And it was like right in her face multiple times.
Yeah, multiple. I was like, there's that gratuitous like bodily fluids there.
And it was that. It almost felt like I said earlier. It felt like Tarantino, just like the random one slice and then blood squirts everywhere. But that boar scene was brutal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like the Quentin Tarantino, like in Django, like like they would it was almost comedic, like they shoot them and then they blow, like blood blows out and they go the opposite way from wherever they got shot at,
like the dramatic movements and reactions from the shots.
Like ridiculous.
And that'll bring us to our next. So I'm gonna put these two together because I feel like we've been touching a little on these key points, but I want to talk a little bit about entitlement and revenge. So entitlement, for instance, a good example of that is when he's trying to show a video to Dylan O'Brien, and O'Brien's like, he just sits there and makes the guy come to him. Even after the plane crashes and he just says thanks, you can feel like he still has that source of entitlement. And we do find out that his character had a rocky upbringing, but he also came from... He's one of those people that they would say is born with a golden spoon in his mouth because his dad was the one that owned the company. So you can kind of understand that he's gone through a tough path, but he's also built it on entitlement. And would you say that by the end of the movie that Rachel McAdams has now this sense of entitlement?
Yes, yeah, because she feels like she's owed this. So he, started out with the self idolatry to go from like, a little biblical perspective of it. Lots of ego. From talking about his childhood, it seems like he had like affluenza, and just like grew up very affluent, and his parents paid no mind to him, abused him, everything like that. So when he got to,
I think the video got cut off about 20 minutes ago, so we're gonna have to put a trailer or something just covering up that missing video footage. But gonna be coming back at the point of we were talking about revenge and entitlement. Can't remember specifically where we left off within that, but let's jump to revenge. Revenge is another overarching theme in this movie, and it's almost honestly a theme that is highlighted in the trailer because it gets us to feel like, oh, if we were in this situation where our boss that's a douchebag is now under us, would we change? And I think the revenge aspect of this movie is very, very heavy. What do you think?
yeah, going in, watching the trailer, we're like, oh, we kind of have a preconceived idea of what the film's going to be like. Oh, okay, Rachel McAdams is going to finally get what she has been thinking about in the back of her mind. Like, oh man, I just want to torture this guy, and it turned out to be completely different.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there wasn't. She did get her revenge, but that more so seemed like in the beginning of the movie, and then it turned from revenge to what's the word I'm looking for?
To
like obsession, not obsession, but like trying to keep him captive. I
feel like she's trying to keep that him needing her, so she's trying to
dependence, like a sense of dependency. Yeah.
And I agree, and that's going to bring up our next point as well, to repentance and empathy. But it almost felt like, from watching that part on, it almost felt like she enjoyed like lording over him in that moment, and she was doing things to treat him less than. And I thought it was really awesome to see that kind of role reversal, and then to see her falling more into that darkness of like just knowing that she has more power over him. That brings me to repentance and empathy. Like, we're led to be very empathetic in the beginning of the movie, and then towards the end, do you have any empathy towards Dylan O'Brien's character?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I started like when they were getting drunk around the fire, and he started talking about his childhood. That's when you start feeling like empathy towards him. You start feeling better about his character, and not that he was justified in being a douchebag, but you're just kind of like, okay, I can, kind of see what led him down this path.
Yeah. And then from that, she's like completely flipped her character. And while, yes, he is trying to kill her, he has just found out that she just killed his fiancée.
Yeah.
So it's tough because like two wrongs don't make a right, but it's constantly like flip-flopping in that moment. And you kind of leave wondering like, okay, who am I supposed to root for here? Which, not a bad thing, but it makes you think a little bit more towards the end of the movie, because in the beginning I was rooting against Dylan O'Brien, and then towards the end I was like, okay, come on, he's clearly repented multiple times, but how many of these times is actually realistic? And I think towards that, right before she tells him that she wants to stay on the island forever, I think that's when he's like, okay, I've already apologized, but she's still holding on to this. I need to get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't really have too much to touch more on that. I mean, it was just kind of like, like you said, flip-flopping, and then you're just kind of like, okay, who do I root for?
Right.
Like, because Rachel McAdams clearly has gone off the deep end. Sorry, I should say Linda.
Yeah, Linda.
Linda's clearly gone off the deep end, and he's just kind of surviving. And I think that's like what would bring us into something that we're going to talk about later. And
Yes. And then one more thing before we jump into the flag on the play, which is going to be the next segment. Linda's last name in this movie is Little, but Liddle. And it's funny to see her name like that because constantly through, like in the beginning of the film, she stepped on or stepped over. So like it's funny that she has that name Little. That was just something that I saw from the opening. I was like, oh, a little funny artistic nod there by Sam Raimi.
Good, yeah.
But I do want to talk about like the self and playing God like in this movie. But that's going to be the end of the keys to the film. We're going to jump into flag on the play, which are theories or subcontext that leads us to believe that something that isn't inherently expressed to us. And the first theory I want to talk about, because this is something I picked up on immediately from the beginning on how O'Brien was lording over her to even towards the end where it is all her saying like, oh, it's all about you can only live in this world by yourself or with yourself. It's all pointing to like the self-reliance. So my first theory on this movie is like the playing God aspect and the dichotomy of God, like from the opening of the Bible of Genesis, where God is telling us, hey, don't go eat from this tree of knowledge because it's not meant for you, it's forbidden. And it was Adam's job at that time to protect the garden, which spoiler alert, he did not protect the garden. And at the end of the day, it pushed us into where we are now, into like a lifestyle born into sin. But just imagine what would happen if he wouldn't have eaten from that tree of knowledge. Now, I want to parallel that with the scene in this movie where she shows him the giant X's there's a rock formation. She tells him not to go over there. It's all full of poison and dangerous things. So we think that in that moment that she's telling the truth and she's looking out for him. Spoiler alert, we find out later on that she does actually know something is beneficial to both of them over there, and she's hiding it from him. So we have this Genesis version where God is telling them to save them, not to go eat from this fruit. And then we have this Sam Raimi version where she's telling him not to go over there, but that would leave him to safety. So it's kind of funny to see like when God is in charge and when mankind is in charge. And that was like one of the theories I had come up with, or I thought of when thinking of this movie.
Right, yeah, like it was like kind of like going against God's plan, like going, eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and then it's ruining her plan if he were to cross the rock formation and find the house.
Yep.
So yeah, it's going against it's her, playing God, like okay, giving strict, just one strict rule, it's like do not go over there, and also her saying, oh, it's filled with poisonous things. Tree of knowledge of good and evil filled with sin.
Yeah.
Or what will lead human beings to sin.
Mm-hmm. And it was cool to see that because I feel like in the past I wouldn't have picked up on that from where I was in the past. So like for me, I've become more involved with the church and reading more of the Bible and trying to understand like God's word. You start to see things a little bit differently. And this movie preaches about, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with this because it is for entertainment purposes. And Sam Raimi did a great job of telling the story that he wanted to tell in this movie. But one of the overarching themes in this movie is like self. And I think it relates more so to me because I took like 2 years off of just doing anything and I just focused on self-help. So I was trying to become the best version of myself, but that was going to be from the mindset of I know what's best for me, not from the mindset of like, oh, I want to become the best version that God created me to be. So it's cool to see like this being kind of broadcast to us that like, oh, you can only rely on yourself. You can only do this for yourself. You can only do this on yourself. Because I don't even think not one time is prayer mentioned in this entire movie, which is fine. It's not like a religious movie, but it's kind of interesting to see how self is mentioned so many times throughout, but prayer is not mentioned once. At least I don't remember it being mentioned.
Right. It's all about self-preservation.
Right.
Just survival. You
right.
know? Just very animalistic at that point.
Mm-hmm. And then so that was the first flag on the play, and this one you're excited to talk about. This one is that Bradley was her pet. So bring me more into how like Bradley was mirroring her little bird. Right, yeah. So there's a great parallel that I feel like it was intentional by the director. She keeps her pet, you keep a bird in a cage, and that was her only friend, her only partner in life. And so now she has
him on the island, and she tries to contain him on the island, similar to the bird in the cage. That's that's pretty much it, and then the movie ends with her driving in the car with her bird in the cage and
with the roof down.
with the roof down, birds just chilling there,
And I didn't even think about that from until you said something earlier, because I was just seeing oh, that's cool that she got her bird back. I thought her bird would be dead, and maybe that is a new bird that she's just replaced the old one, because I don't think she had any friends to be able to take care of her bird at her apartment. But that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, doing that would probably be so uncomfortable, if not dangerous, for an actual real life bird. So it kind of just shows her character now is less thoughtful about her own creature pets, and they're just there specifically for her. So that was kind of a dark little ending too.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if it ever touched on, I forget if it was, but touched on how long they were on the island.
I know it mentioned they were on there for 2 weeks, but that was before the fiance came out there. So I would assume, I thought it was going to be years, but now from where this movie was at, I think it was only maybe a month or a couple months or so. It didn't seem like it was that too far out. But I know 2 weeks was mentioned before the wife or the fiance came looking for him.
Okay.
But yeah, that's going to be the end of that segment, and that's going to bring us to how you framed it. So this is going to be seeing the movie from a faith perspective. And if you listen to the pregame, I wanted to talk about pregame in this movie with the passage from Luke 22, verse 25 through 27. So I'm going to read that real quick for you. 25 to 27. Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves." So it's that was the scripture I had put for the pregame, and after this movie, I was like, okay, I think that was a great scripture to encapsulate this movie. What do you think?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Because in my version, I always listen, or I always read the New Living Translation, and it says, "Those who are the greatest among you should take the lowest rank." And that makes me think of the hierarchy in a business. It's the boss should treat himself as the lowest employee, and to keep that self-idolatry kept away.
Yeah,
because it's easy to, when you're in a position of power, it's easy to let it get to your head.
It is.
And start treating people poorly and unfairly. And so that's how I also related to the movie when I read that, and then I looked up the verse. I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, that's spot on.
It's kind of sad too, because you see again, I'm going to refer to him as the Allstate guy. You see that he knows what is what in this world, but he's still under the top guy. And that's another moment of entitlement and power that O'Brien used, where he's like, "Smell this," and the guy's like, "No." He's like, "Smell it." He's like, "No," and then eventually he makes him come and smell it. So I was like,
yeah,
what a messed up thing to do as a boss. It's very non.
That was when she spit her tuna fish sandwich onto his hand.
Yeah, and he goes, "Tuna fish," which is hilarious. But I think that encapsulated it well. So it's unfortunate that she did not follow that scripture, and she ended up turning into the lording over aspect of it. But
she turned into what she was trying to get away from.
Right. Do you think it would have been a better ending if she would have had mercy on him, or do you think he would have tried to still kill her or something?
I feel like if she had mercy on him, he would still be the douchebag boss. He would still act like he can go and fire her, because that's giving him power.
Right.
If she had mercy, because of how her personality is as that character, she would have turned into the submissive again.
Right. Yeah.
And he would have taken that and been like, oh, okay, cool, I'm still the boss, I can still act like I always have been. But she did take it to an extreme.
Yeah. And I almost feel like if she did not tell him, because obviously it was how she was feeling inside, but if she didn't tell him that she wants to stay, they should stay on that island forever, I think there could have been a redemption arc where he sees his wrong and they come back onto like society and he sees the errors of his ways, and maybe that changes. But obviously we're watching a Sam Raimi movie and not a Hallmark movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we see like humanity at its worst and then the ending of that aspect. But it just, to end out the how you frame it, this movie was just great, just showing the reliance on self instead of God. And unfortunately, when you start to rely on more of yourself rather than God, you fall into the sins of this world and you get corrupted by the sins of this world, and you try and become more like the world rather than becoming away from it. And I just thought this movie did a great job of showing that.
Because the Bible commands us to live in this world, but not of this world.
Right.
And it definitely did a great job.
Yep. And by the end of this movie, she was of this world. And it's tough because there can be great arguments saying like, oh, well, she was pushed. She was pushed, and she was not treated correctly. But that's the thing about like the Bible as well. It teaches us to forgive. And so many of us would watch this movie and be like, oh, he doesn't deserve to be forgiven. But what have we done that we don't deserve to be forgiven? Like,
right.
Jesus died for us so that we can be forgiven. So who are we to judge and say like, oh, that's non-redeemable, that's non-redeemable? Because at the end of the day, there's only one person that knows if it's redeemable or not. So I thought the way that movie, I didn't expect that going into this movie. So it was cool to see like that whole process turning out of it.
Because talking about forgiveness, like there's people who have lost, or whose loved ones have been killed by somebody, and they will forgive them in court. They will like publicly and like audibly say, I forgive you and I'm praying for you. Like that is like powerful. I can't even fathom, the courage and faith that takes.
Right.
I pray I don't ever have to, do that, but
yeah,
I like to think that I would.
Right. Well, I agree with you. And that's a great example, because 9 times out of 10, if not every single 10 times, that person's getting emotional while they're saying it, because everything in their mind is probably telling them like, don't do it, but everything in their heart is saying like, you need to do it. When you're holding on to it that long, it's no longer like damaging them, it's damaging yourself.
Right.
So it's a good contrast on that. And that's going to be the end of that segment. It's going to bring us to the final thoughts. So I'm going to ask you this: what do you think Sam Raimi was trying to tell us with this movie?
I think he was trying to, to actually convey humbleness, and to, not take the important people in your life for granted.
Okay.
Not saying that he's like, oh, if you do that, they're going to try to kill you and go crazy, but in a creative theatrical sense, he is, but not that's the watch how you treat people. Treat people with grace. Also, if someone wrongs you, you should treat them with grace.
Mm-hmm. And I like that concept, because you can also say like, because when you break someone, you can see like the outcome of that situation. So don't do that. And it's kind of like him telling us like, don't be like this, because this is what like the worst case scenario of what could happen. And I thought similarly to you, that he was trying to just show how far mankind can fall when your back is up against the wall and when you're constantly being led to different situations. Because there's multiple times where O'Brien is telling her what she wants to hear because he's just trying to manipulate her, whether it be him trying to give her an excuse to why she didn't get the raise, which I thought he handled really well until his like fiance came in, and that's when it just like all unraveled. Well, actually, no, when he mentioned that his the other guy who got the raise plays golf, I was like, oh, well, you lost it there, because she was like, huh? And we've been there. I think we've all been in that situation before. If someone tells us a reason that we didn't get something or why we haven't been brought in somewhere, and you're like, that's not a good reason.
Right.
But did you think that he succeeded in his story that he was trying to tell?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I loved the ending. I loved the part where the whole thing of the house and the whole interaction between them in the house, and then that transition to the very end of her. She came out on top. And so I feel like he definitely succeeded, because it wasn't necessarily a happy ending,
Right.
but that look that she gave that you were mentioning before, that's just kind of like, it was just that serious, like, you know what I did, don't say anything. So it kind of conveys that she might have some guilt, even though she's living this like lavish life now, and she has this insanely dark secret.
And it just makes you wonder, like, if she's gonna do it again, because she mentioned to him when she was drunk that, like, oh, I've never told anyone that before. So now you kind of wonder how she's gonna twist and turn this story to make it look like she was the victim of the entire series. So I don't think there will be a Send Help Part 2, but wouldn't it be funny if, because now she's a celebrity and now she has all this money and now she's actually valued for the person that unfortunately she might not be anymore, because she's made this like dramatic transformation. But wouldn't it be funny if she purchased that like house and that's like her home?
So I totally forgot to bring this up, but the island that she's on with the highway going through the ocean, is that island?
I don't know, because I don't think there was roads on it, but it wouldn't be crazy to see that like she went back to it and like made roads so that she can drive to it, or maybe she's just driving to. I don't know. That's a good question.
Is that like an actual place in like a different country? Or is that same island that she had roads built because she got probably an insane settlement?
Yeah.
For the plane crash, and then the book she's writing and the movie she's making out of it.
Yeah.
They made.
Yeah. So she definitely has an influx.
So she has a lot of money. So I don't know. Who's to say it's not the island?
Right.
It certainly looked like it.
It did, and I wonder if that was used to like keep the ambiguity of like, oh, maybe she's on this island or not. But I didn't even think about that till like today, and it's kind of funny. I wonder if like Sam Raimi has talked about this yet, because he has done a Ask Me Anything, but that was before the movie came out. So I'm gonna have to look afterwards and see if he like talked about this.
Yeah.
But
I haven't, because I have not read anything about it so far. Like I haven't read anything like about like Sam Raimi's intentions behind anything. So I'm curious to know all this stuff.
Yeah, because it like getting in the mind of our artist is always like a beautiful thing, and we just sometimes we like see things that go straight over our heads. So it'd be cool to see if he intended for these things.
Yeah.
But is there anything in this movie that you would have loved to see that you feel like you didn't get to see?
For the sake of loving gory stuff, I would have liked to see them hit the rocks at the bottom when she pushed them off the cliff. But I mean, no, nothing really, honestly.
I like to get to back to that point too. When it cut away, like when the transition first like showed her thinking about pushing them off and it just cut away, I was like, no, why would you not show that? I was like, I was kind of upset, and I was like, all right, this is bringing it down from a 7.5 to a 6 for me. Why would it not show that? Yeah. And we show it's because it showed later on. They wanted to keep us guessing, like, did she? And then it showed us later on, like, yes, she did.
She actually did do it, yeah.
Right.
But it didn't have any, like, violent, fall or anything like that.
Right. Right. And then you had, like, the dream sequence of, like...
Oh, dude, that was the one jump scare that they added.
Yeah, and it was, like, as she was coming up to her and she's like, you killed me. I was like, zombie. Yes. But it's funny, you see her as a human and then she's like turns into that jump scare.
Like the way she was moving was like all like contorting, like kind of. So I was like, is she alive? Like, did she not hit the rocks and just like fall in the water and swim? Like, yeah. So that had me like really questioning. And then she was like, you tried to kill me. So I was like, oh my gosh, she's alive.
Yeah.
And then, when she swung at her, she turned to smoke. And then I don't know if that was supposed to be her, like that popped up behind her and jump scared her?
I think it was. I think it was supposed to be.
It looked like some weird mud man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that was maybe like how she looked like after months of decaying or something. But I think it was supposed to be her because during the plane crash too, the flight attendant like comes up and there's like her face looks all like. I think it's just Sam Raimi's like exaggeration into horror, trying to like enhance it.
Yeah. But she was, buried in the sand also. Now I think about it.
Oh yeah, with her hand. She left her hand sticking out, or maybe like she reached out after she was buried, which is another sad thing to think about.
That's also like something that I thought was odd. That didn't, I wasn't like, oh, that like was a huge turnoff, and I was like, why?
Right.
Why the whole arm sticking out? With the wedding ring, like
right,
or engagement ring. So,
and like I know it has nothing to do. I mean, it was something that Sam Raimi wanted us to see, but there is multiple times in this movie where it is like highlighting that ring. Like even when the boat's going by and it's off to the distance, you see like a sparkle, and you kind of assume like, oh, is that like a telescope or someone with binoculars? We later find out it's his fiance with the wedding ring, which when she first met the fiance, she like is zoomed in on that ring, and you can tell it's like a major thing. And then on the end where her hand's sticking out, you still see the ring, and then when he shows that he knows what she did, he opens his mouth and he has the ring in his mouth. So. Yeah. It's funny, like this little object is constantly shown throughout the movie, and that was something like.
And then she eventually eats it.
Yeah, she eventually eats it, and that's just
kind of like a slap in the face to him, like,
right?
Haha, I killed your fiance. This is like terrible. But
and she probably definitely got money out of that too. Like once she finally passed that, she probably definitely sold that thing. Because that's a big ring.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I guess my last question before we finalize this one out was, would you consider this movie like truly horror?
I consider it suspense.
Suspense?
With elements of horror.
Okay.
It has the goriness, when they're fighting and, Rachel McAdams looked pretty scary with her eye being halfway gouged out.
Yeah.
It gave me Evil Dead feels, the latest one, kind of how she looked like, really like kind of disfigured and dark, like really dark and like with her hair and everything. But I wouldn't classify it as a horror.
Okay. I agree with you because there were a couple like horror elements, but by the end of the movie, I was like, no, that was more like a psychological thriller, drama, suspense. And I agree, there were horror elements. And like when it just showed her like bloody eye looking at him, and you even see like when she was crying, there's like a blood tear dripping down. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of like Carrie, like after they spill the blood on her and she just like has that look.
Yes.
So I agree. It was definitely like, I don't feel like it was a labeled a horror, but I mean there was definitely horror elements, and then just seeing humanity as horse is always going to be a horror concept for me too. So I guess it is a horror, but a horror movie is what I think.
Yeah, because it definitely had that jump scare got me, because the whole movie there was nothing like that, like nothing supernatural elements or paranormal elements to it at all. So that's what I was like. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that.
Right, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, have you seen the movie Drag Me to Hell?
Yes.
Okay, so like...
That's another Sam Raimi, right?
Yes. And like the beginning / middle of that movie is like fantastic, and it's leading you on this journey, and you're like rooting for this main character, and then the ending out of nowhere, it just like, boom.
Pulls her under.
Yeah, horror element, boom, ends and pulls her into like hell, which it was kind of like watching that in theaters. It was like, well, that was the ending? And it kind of sucked in that aspect. So I'm glad that he stayed onto the course with the ending that he stayed on here and didn't bring it into like the supernatural. Albeit, I think Drag Me to Hell was about like a woman that puts a curse on her or something like that, right? I think it was something like that.
I saw it a long time ago. I just remember that ending now.
Right. Yeah, notoriously bad ending. And you look at a lot of the reviews too. Everyone's like, "Oh, it was so great till the ending." Right. And I'm just glad that he stayed true to form on this movie, because he was not like, he did bring a couple of supernatural elements in terms of the jump scares, But one was just a lady that just went through a crash, so naturally her face is probably going to look pretty banged up. And then the boar was a great use of horror and a element that wasn't like unrealistic. And then the jump scare at the end, like she was in a dream that is realistic. And while this movie isn't like completely realistic, that was, I think, a great way to show horror in this movie and make it non like abstract.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That boar scene was pretty intense.
Yeah, and at first I was like, oh my gosh, the CGI on this boar looks terrible. But then when it's like getting up to her face and like you just lock eyes with her, you're like, okay, it's actually terrifying.
It was scary. Yeah,
yeah. It's funny because O'Brien's like, oh, aren't those like the bad ones or something like that? When she mentions that there's a boar, and she's like, no, it should be all right. And she underestimates the boar, and then she learns. Thankfully, she doesn't die in that situation.
Right. Yeah, they can definitely kill you.
Imagine that tragedy. If she would have died there and O'Brien would have been like broken leg, like trapped in that moment, he would not have been able to eat. He probably wouldn't have gotten any water.
He would have died.
He would have died, yeah. And the tragedy of that, like that house being just on the other side of the mountains.
Right.
Oh. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about the movie?
I mean, yeah, no, it was. I enjoyed it. I want to see it again. My wife wants to see it, so she was like, "Would you watch it again?" I'm like, "Yeah, definitely." You know, it wasn't, perfect movie, but I really enjoyed it, and it's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of funny parts to it, and it still kept to that intensity. Like the comedy didn't take away from the like that anxiety you feel
right
during it.
Right.
So.
And I agree. One thing I can't stand is like, and unfortunately I keep linking it back to Marvel, but Marvel is a notorious one for undercutting the tone of a scene due to trying to force in comedy elements.
Yeah.
And I agree, the moments of comedy in this movie I think worked out well. The tension in this movie, we forgot to talk about it, but the scene that she was trying to pretending to castrate him, everyone in the theater was quiet on that moment, and you see like O'Brien, he's shaking, he can't feel any pain, but like the pain of that's just going on in his mind and his heart in that moment is crazy. And then you find out she's just torturing him with a rat, and that reminded me of Misery right there too, that specific scene.
Absolutely. Yeah, when the blood squirted up at her, and I was like, I thought that she was, I don't know about you, but I actually thought that she was doing that.
I did too,
I thought she was at that level of crazy that she would actually castrate him.
I thought so too. I did too. When she pulled up the rat, I think I was like,
just sigh of relief, because I was like, please don't do this.
Yes. Every man in that moment was like, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all I have about the movie. I think we pretty much touched on most topics. I will probably like go home afterwards and be like, oh, we forgot to mention that. But
oh yeah, I'll text you later.
Right. The rewatchability of it is cool too, because now you're going to be like, all right, what did she get from this house, and what was actually like her foraging for stuff. But to bring out the end of the podcast, I want to say again, thank you for hopping on.
Dude,
and
it's a pleasure.
Thanks for coming. And if people are trying to find you, or what are you working on right now that people can like dive into your life?
So me and my friend Austin, we have the Found Men podcast. You can find us on Spotify and YouTube. It's a men's Christian podcast. Mm-hmm. We don't usually really get political or anything. We're just, unless it's like completely fitting, but we just talk about relevant things that new Christians, because that's kind of what it's based off of, because both of us have a past and didn't really come to Christ until way later in our lives. Mm-hmm. So we kind of like talk about things that new Christians deal with, and then also we do Bible studies, we do testimonies. We're about to do a book club series next week on this book we're reading. It's you can find out more if you check us out, the Found Men podcast, Spotify and YouTube. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely what God is calling us to do, and getting some traction here.
And I'll put the link also in the description of this video, so it's easier to access from that. But it's Found Men podcast, and I think it's a great podcast. The way that you guys have like a plan of what you want to talk about beforehand, and then dive into it, and then it kind of adapts into something more. is beautiful to see, because it feels like in those moments I feel like that's when the Holy Spirit's working and kind of bringing it out of you to get more into depth and even touch on touchy subjects or situations that we're all thinking about but nobody really wants to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we try to stay relevant, to things that people go through every day, and things we face as new Christians and as seasoned Christians.
Right.
Because we're starting to get to that point of spiritual maturity, and we're able to feel like we can lead now, and offer some guidance and wisdom. So,
Yep.
not to toot our horns or anything.
Well, and then like to finish off on that, that podcast was the inspiration for like doing the podcast here, because I was like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I never thought about doing it. Like I had an office for a second for like doing more private podcast episodes, but it's a sports office, so there's no tables or anything around for me to like hook stuff up to. And then the other method I was trying was Zoom, but that just gets a little expensive. And then if your internet's not that great, the audio quality probably isn't the greatest. So I'll be interested to see how I can fix this audio with the background noise and stuff. But seeing y'all record in here with like the video and just like the ambiance and just the audio quality, I thought was like pretty cool. And I was like, that should make it easier for more guests to come on this podcast as well. So it was definitely spurred me into the trying to get more into video aspect of it.
Good, man. Yeah, it's fun doing it here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have today. So again, at the end of every episode, I like to end the episode in a prayer. So if you would not like to stay for this prayer, that's totally okay. I totally understand. Hope you have an amazing day, and thank you for listening. If you would like to join us for a prayer, totally welcome to. Would you like to pray?
I'm sorry?
Would you like to pray?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to pray, or do you want me to do it?
I mean,
all right.
You can pray.
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Heavenly Father, thank you for this amazing day. Thank you for this amazing opportunity for us to come together after watching a movie and to be able to talk about it and just break it down to things that we would have never thought or even seen before. And through your light, we're able to see different perspectives and then understand more about humanity and the darkness that it can reach and the sin that it can achieve. So we just thank you so much for just shining your light on the darkness of this world, and to be able to set us up with your scripture and your word to lead us to where we're supposed to go. And especially in Luke 22, 25 to 27, how you tell us to be more like servants and not to lord over those underneath us. I think this movie just shows a great example of like the worst case scenario of that in this situation. So again, just thank you so much for everything you have given us. And for anyone struggling out there, for anyone that is maybe being lorded over, just to shine your light and love onto them and help them get out of that situation, or just bring them to somewhere that you want them to be, where they're not always suffering, or they don't feel like their value is not being seen, or they're not always stepped over or stepped on top of. And Lord, if you can just help them out into getting away from that toxic environment. And I think that's all I got. In Jesus Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen. Good job, man.